Welcome to today's episode of The Well Drop. I'm your host, Amber Berger, and today we're talking about a topic that affects us all, yet it often goes unnoticed. It's the quality of the air we breathe inside our homes. In recent years, indoor air quality has become a crucial health concern, with various studies highlighting how the air inside our homes can be even more polluted than the air outside. This is where AirDoctor comes into play, a leader in the air purification industry known for its innovative technology designed to tackle a wide range of indoor air pollutants. Joining us today is Helen Christoni, an expert in the wellness sector with over 20 years of experience, and she's here to help us understand why clean air is essential. AirDoctor's technology is making homes safer and healthier across the globe. We're going to explore the science behind air purification, discuss common indoor pollutants, and learn how AirDoctor solutions are helping to combat them. For those of you who have been tuning in for a while, you know I'm extremely passionate about wellness at home as your starting point. COVID brought a lot of attention to the air quality in our homes, and everyone ran out to buy an air purifier. However, since we've resumed regular life, many of them are back in the closets, and the level of importance on indoor air quality, it's fallen by the wayside. So I'm particularly excited about today's interview to bring it back to the forefront, especially since our habits have shifted and we're actually spending even more time at home today. Did you know that we spend almost 19 hours of our day in our homes? It's a staggering number, which is why I'm excited to dive into the importance of air quality at home and how AirDoctor is bringing peace of mind through pure, healthy air technology proven by science. Helen, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. So, Helen, it's a pleasure to have you with us today and to talk about clean air. I think the most important part is, why don't we just start off and discuss, why is clean air essential for our health and in particular in our home?
Well, as humans, we are really big air consumers. We take 20,000 breaths a day, and that equals to about 3,000 gallons of air we are breathing today. So if you were going to sit down and drink 3,000 gallons of everything, you'd want to make sure it was pretty good for you. So air is vital for having a thriving life. So we need to make sure that it's as pure and clean as possible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I am a certified breathwork coach. And when I learned about breathwork, I was really just fascinated of how simple it is. First of all, it's something that we do multiple times a day. And it's sometimes the most simple things like fresh air, clean air that gets overlooked, but it is a core part of our wellness routine that needs to be looked at. During COVID, of course, everything got brought to the surface on the importance of clean air. And, it's reported that indoor air quality can be 100 times worse than outdoor air quality. And so, how is this even possible? Like, how is that even? It seems kind of inconceivable that indoor air could be dirtier than outdoor.
I think it's one of the biggest misconceptions that people, like, we've been programmed to open our windows and let the fresh air in. But if you live by a street, that air is not fresh. Like, if there are cars outside, they are
No.
emitting things that you don't want in your home. And then you add everything else that's going on. All of that outdoor air, if it's polluted, is coming indoors, and then it gets trapped indoors. And then once we're indoors, we as human beings and consumers are adding more things to our indoor air from things that we're bringing in our home that's further contaminating our homes. And then it's trapped. It's trapped in the box, and it's just circulating through the house. And so it's really important to address indoor air quality, and a huge misconception that people can just throw open their windows unless they're like on top of a mountain with no farmland and very little drive by going on in their house at the end of a cul-de-sac. In that situation, you're okay. But most Americans, like 1 out of 2 Americans, it's like 150 million people, are living in places with really, really bad air quality, and all of that's just coming into our homes.
Yes, I used to live in New York City, and I would monitor the air quality and see, sometimes it would tell you not to really walk outside on certain days. And not everybody really paid attention to it, but it is an interesting point. I would rarely open up my windows. I lived there 20 years, and I would only open them up at night at best when there weren't cars going by, because it is kind of gross. And you would think that, oh, we have, air conditioning and air filters. Like, why are the air filters in our air conditioning not circulating all this toxicity enough? Like, how come we need something maybe more to boost our wellness from the inside out?
Well, they're just not, they're like our HVAC units, the filtration in that is just really used to kind of capture large, big particles, and it's not really powerful enough to move the air in your home. And so you need to really move the air in a room 5 times an hour to clean the air in that room. So that's why air purifiers and AirDoctor are so amazing, is because they're powerful enough to move the air in the room 5 times an hour to make sure that you're purifying the air.
I think that's an amazing point. I don't think most of us know that we need to move the air in our room 5 times an hour.
Yes.
That
And
sounds crazy.
when you have an air doctor, a really high quality air purifier, when you come home, your air's fresh, because it's been cleaning and purifying your air all day long. If you don't have it on, and you come home or into a room, you really tell the difference of what's happening in your environment. I mean, it is black and white. Like, you really notice the difference in the air that you're breathing. And it's really a game changer for people's health and the health of their family at home.
Yeah, can we actually discuss what are some risks associated with indoor air quality that may not be in the best condition?
Well, I mean, I gotta tell you, like, I have air doctors throughout my home, and when I travel sometimes, like I was just recently at a conference and I was staying in a hotel and my throat was itchy and my eyes were watery and I had a headache and I didn't feel good. And that's poor indoor air quality. So I was trapped in this 1960s hotel that didn't have any ventilation. There was no air purifiers in the room. Who knows what kind of, what the materials were made in. And you can really tell the side effects. So headaches, congestion, scratchy throat, watery eyes. Those are just like very small indicators of what can go on, but there's larger risks. For people that live really close to a major highway, it can impair your cognition, it can cause brain degeneration. Young kids that live by major highways and roadways, it can impair their cognitive development and ability to learn. So it's something that is really important that we should all take very seriously.
Yeah, and speaking about the kids, I think, we never really think about what is the air quality like in our schools. I mean, most of our schools are probably older for the most part. I mean, who
Yeah, I mean,
knows what they must be breathing in a learning environment. It's kind of scary when you think about it.
yeah, and then also add viruses to the mix. I mean, no classroom shouldn't have it should all no classroom should be without an air doctor. And it's really important that these children have something in the room that removes viruses. Also at home, you get into cold and flu season and everyone's getting sick. And one of the most important things you can do is have an air doctor in your school, classroom, your offices, your home, because we're certified to remove particles down below the virus. And we're like effectively removing 99.97% of viruses from the air. So, really important.
Yeah, let's talk about what is in the air. And when it comes to different air purifiers, what should we be paying attention to? What are sort of some of the classifications in order to know that they're killing? Because most of these things it's in the air, so we can't see it. So, what should we look for if we're trying to decide on purchasing an air purifier for our house?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's like the common offenders, right? You've got dust, pollen, pet hair, dander, mold is a big one, mold spores. And so those are really big offenders that people are kind of tuned into, that they want to pull out of their air, right? Um but then on top of that is volatile organic compounds. So volatile organic compounds are those things that we do frequently that we're not thinking about, that's really poisoning our air with invisible gases that we can't see. For instance, when you use a gas stove, a lot of people have these high BTU burners and they're on their stoves. I myself have one, and I am 100% guilty of putting a pot of water on to boil and not turning on my vent hood. And what's happening? You've got this powerful, like, more BTU than I would ever need as a homeowner, right? Pumping into my house, and those gas fumes are terribly bad for you. And then add in cleaning products, any sort of like fragrance in those cleaning products. A really big offender is dry shampoo, like women that use dry shampoo in their hair. If you put hair product in your hair and you might think it's like totally like it's natural, and then you add heat to it, all of a sudden it doesn't become natural anymore, and you're emitting all of these volatile organic compounds into the air. And so VOCs are also in our flooring materials, in our paint materials, in our curtain materials, anything that you unpack, like from anything being shipped to you from like an Amazon or whatever, like all that stuff off gases. And so it's really important that we just start to realize what we're bringing into our homes. It's contaminating the air. And the greatest thing about AirDoctor is it has an indicator light. And so it will take you through, if you bring something in your house, if you blow dry your hair, if you leave your stove on, it will turn up, it'll turn red, and then it'll go through the system and go to orange and blue. So you start to understand your behavior and what you're bringing into your household that really is contaminating your air. And then we start to learn, and maybe you don't put product in your hair before you blow dry it, so it's not off gassing and turning on your air purifier.
I love that actually. I think what's great about AirDoctor is because of the changes in the colors on the machine, it shows you in real time what's happening where, most of them don't have that sort of system. So you don't know, is it doing anything? Like my husband, I always sadly blame my husband. I started turning on the overhead fan when we were cooking and boiling water, and he thought I was crazy. But when you put the air purifier there and it shows you that things are coming into your environment and then they're being fixed and then the light goes away, you see that something is happening. I think that that's the best introduction really to show people, what you have the packages, you're doing the blow drying, even if you get a new piece of furniture or you're doing some updates on your house, that you can see that there are things inside that they're invisible to the eye, but they are there. We're breathing it in, and fragrance is the number one damager for people. There's so
100%.
many cool candles and scents and even whatever you may be using in your cleaning products, but it really is, a lot of them can be endocrine disruptors,
Yeah.
especially for women and children. And so it is something that we have to be mindful of. And there's so much noise out there. Like, is this necessary? Is this important? But the truth is, it really is important. Like you said, we breathe over 20,000 breaths, and you want to make sure that you're optimizing your air as best as possible, because it's our lifeline, right?
Yes. Yes. So important.
So, what does AirDoctor in terms of the quality of the actual filters? Can we discuss about the filters so that we can understand how AirDoctor cleans differently than maybe some other filters out there on the market?
Sure. So there are a lot of like standard HEPA filters out there that you can pick up at a hardware store or on Amazon for a very low cost. And those HEPA filters will, like a standard HEPA filter, will pull out microns to 0.3 microns. So that's what a standard HEPA filter supposedly removes. And a lot of these filters that are out there for sale aren't third party validated. So when you test them, they don't even remove that. So first of all, AirDoctor is third-party validated. We're based in science. That's really important to us as a company. And so we invest in third-party validation for all of our products. And so we have an ultra HEPA filter. And what that means is it's 100 times more powerful than the HEPA standard. So an AirDoctor will remove contaminants down to 0.003 microns, which includes viruses. And so that is really, really small. And we're effectively removing just about anything from the air. And also we're tested to remove SARS, COVID, down to 99.97%. So it's really we capture a very, very small micron. In addition to that, we have a very thick VOC carbon filter. And I want to talk about this for a minute because carbon filters are not created equal. A lot of companies, what they'll do is they'll spray paper with carbon paint and they'll make the carbon claim on the machine. You want a really thick, dense, heavy carbon filter to be able to really remove volatile organic compounds and things and gases from the air. So that's really, really important. And then additionally, we have a pre-filter that removes all of the big stuff. And you'll always see demonstrations of the AirDoctor. I love that people can see the big dirt it's pulling out of the air. I mean, some of them look like hair carpet. Some of these filters
Wow.
we see, it's so disgusting. So you really, really see that it's working. And then the system is completely sealed. This is a game changer. When you're pulling in mold and pet hair and dander and all these things into the machine, really important that it's a sealed system. You don't want it leaking out concentrated in one area because it's pulling it in. Another thing that AirDoctor does is it's got a really high clean air delivery rate. And that means that it has enough power to move the air in a room 5 times an hour, depending on your room size. And so all those things combined, you have a hospital grade air purifier that really takes the guesswork out of clean air for you.
Yeah, so when people think, "Oh, I have a air purifier in my house," is that enough? Or
No.
should we be having air purifiers in every bedroom of our house? Because I think that well, I believe that we should, but, there becomes a financial component for that as well. So how can we help people think about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, you need to get started, right? So, if you're going to get into an air doctor, first of all, it will only clean the air in the room that it's in. There is no air purifier that goes through walls. And so they're only cleaning within the room. And it's really important that they're powerful enough to clean the air in the room 5 times an hour. And so I always say, if you're going to buy one air doctor, start with the AirDoctor 3500. It's our first unit. It's our most popular unit. It's got these great handles on the side, and you can easily move it from your master bedroom to your living room. And it really kind of it's great for someone just starting out. If you have children, I always recommend that you got to start with your bedroom. We spend most of our time in our bedroom. It's where we're defenseless. We're just sleeping, we're breathing. And the AirDoctor will change your sleep game. I mean, it's a game changer. I was speaking to someone yesterday and she was like, I don't even snore anymore. I was like, well, that was the first time I heard that. But I love it, give me that testimonial. And so it's really important they're in the bedrooms. And also, if you have someone that suffers from asthma or allergies or is immune compromised, this is going to be a game changer in their bedroom. And so that is where I'd put the unit first. My daughter Bella, she suffered from really bad allergies, and she was a singer and she was going to school for music. And I was like, let me put an air doctor in your room. And I remember she called me from school and she was like, oh my God, I could sing in my first class. Usually I don't even get clear until noon. So, I mean, it immediately, in one day, totally took care of that lag and her feeling good through the day. So start with air purifiers in your bedrooms. I realize it's an investment. At AirDoctor, we really try to do promotions from time to time to make it easier for people to get into the clean air space. And so start with one, and then as you can add them into your other rooms, I would.
Yeah, I think that's such great advice. I think that while it is an investment in our wellness, but people tend to, we're marketed so hard on, social channels and TV. Don't buy anything else. Just start with the basics, and clean air is one of them, and
Yeah.
that it is so essential. And that if you have to, just think about where you're spending, if you're working from home, make sure you're having it in your office for that day and then move it into your bedroom at night. I was just looking up some research. We spend 19 hours of our day in our bedroom.
Yeah.
So if that's not enough evidence for time that you're spending, and that the amount of times that we're breathing in a day, just changing the quality of your air, like you said, for your daughter and your other client, can be such a game changer that you don't need all this other stuff. So you might be end up saving in somewhere else while you made this one-time investment that can last you a long time. Like, how long can you have your air filtration for before you need to replace it?
Oh, I mean, air doctors, like, they are really sturdy machines. I mean, people have had them. We have people that are like on 10 years of just replacing their filters. I mean, they just last forever. And so if you change your filters when the filter light comes on, and I'll go through that just so people know, you replace your carbon filter every 6 months, and then you replace your ultra HEPA filter every year. And so if you change those filters regularly, that machine will last for, I mean, for a really long time. I don't want to say forever because it hasn't, there's, we haven't hit forever yet, but
Yeah, nothing is forever, but
yeah,
that's a
nothing's forever.
huge thing. I always I always joke, when women wanna buy their handbags, like, "Oh, that's expensive." I'm like, "Yeah, but when there's something you're using every single day, you're getting your time value of money." So while, it may feel expensive on the front end, but on the back end, if you're getting even let's forget even the 10-year or 5-year use out of it, and you're using it multiple times a day, it is worth everything for your health. And there's so many different implications in which it can help improve yourself, that almost you don't even know where it can take you.
Yeah. And it really, like what you're saying, if it prevents people from having to take allergy medication or to feel stuffy for the first few hours of a day, or just sleep better if they have trouble sleeping, and really indoor air quality can really cause a lot of these health effects, and we think the root cause is something else, and it
Yeah.
could be as simple as just purifying the air in your house, and you'll feel 100 times better.
Yeah, I think that's a really good challenge. I always love to give challenges. Is I challenge you to get an air purifier. Start with your bedroom. And if you need to, you move it around the house wherever you're working. And especially if you have young ones at home, it's so important for them because they're the ones that are more sensitive than we are. And especially allergies is a big one. I think that's what really got me looking for the right air purifier for my kids, is when allergy season hit and I was like, what is going on here? And then it made sense. Like, there's no way the outdoor air is not coming in. So you got to make
Yeah.
sure that the
And
air is cleaning. I've been using air purifiers way before COVID happened, but I loved one of the good things of COVID. It made people realize, that there is something to indoor air quality. Nobody was hanging out inside. But then since life has resumed, I think everyone's just put them back into the closets. So I would say if you have one, just bring it back out
yeah.
because you actually need it for every day. It wasn't a COVID specific case. Like, our daily life, we need these in the rooms of our houses because, back in the day, we didn't live in these closed door environments. And we think of our homes as, oh, it's so clean and I take care of it. But we're forgetting that there's these microscopic particles that we can't see that are affecting our health on a daily basis. And it would be so nice if we could just leave our doors open. But, the amount of pesticides sprayed on your neighbor's lawn, you can't really risk it. You don't live on, in the mountains, like you said, which would be nice. And if you do, and no one's around you and you know your environment, open those windows and get fresh air. You're supposed to get fresh air every day, twice a day.
Yeah, even with that, we have super pollen now. And so people that didn't suffer from allergies ever in their life are now suffering from allergies because we have so much super pollen just because the world is changing.
What's
And
super pollen? I don't
super
even know
pollen
what
is like a
super pollen is.
phenomenon that just because of the change in the weather patterns on Earth, it's creating super pollen. And so the pollen counts just
Oh,
keep going up and up and up every year. And so we have these like phenomenal levels of pollen in the air at the highest rate in, ever. And so people that are non-allergy sufferers are actually becoming allergic because of super pollen. So yeah, everybody, the one thing with AirDoctor that's so great is that people know it's working because of the indicator light and how it like turns on. And so it really gives people peace of mind. And that's one of the reasons people love this machine and we have an amazing community is because it becomes a part of the family. Moms love it, kids love it, dogs love it. Everybody loves it because it lets you know it's working. There's nothing worse than investing in something and having it sit in the corner and you're like, hello, is this
right. I
thing
agree.
on?
I think that's what made me fall in love with AirDoctor was being able to see that something was actually happening. And it's such a nice way, like you said, to engage your family with it.
Yeah.
It's like you can be the one that brings it into the house, but it's nice that everyone else can then see that something is actually happening and making a difference. And then I think another note that I really love is that you guys are third party tested. I don't think we can express enough how important that is that when you are making a choice and buying a product, you want to make sure that it's third party tested because there is so much garbage out there in the marketplace that if you're going to make that investment, you might as well make one that is tried and true. And also just to discuss replacing those filters because some people may think, oh, is that annoying? It's not annoying at all. You literally just open it up, slides out, slides in, and that's it. It's so simple, easy. You don't even need to do anything for it. It's just there, which is the best part.
Yeah, and people get a lot of satisfaction of seeing the dirt. I never thought in a million years that people would be so proud of all the dirt and dust and dog hair and pollen and everything that these air doctors are catching. But we have more people showing us their dirt. And so it gives people a lot of satisfaction to know that me and my family aren't breathing that
Yeah.
so like it's always like an aha moment when you open your air doctor and you see what it's caught, so it's pretty fun.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing so much wisdom with us today on the Well Drop. If there was one drop of wellness wisdom you could leave with our listeners today, what would that be?
I really think it's make sure you cover your bases. People are so they're reaching for so many health products, and if you don't have your health foundation covered, air, water, movement, it's not going to like all the supplements and tricks and tips in the world. You're not going to get to where you want to be. So really start with foundational things. It's a worthwhile investment, and it will pay dividends in the long run as you go on your health journey.
Thank you so much, Helen. And we will be offering a discount. We will have it in the show notes for you so you can click on it and check out amazing Air Doctor. It will be a game changer for your household and for everybody in your house. Thank you. That was so great. I'm going to keep the same recording for the next one.
Thank you so much. Let me get to my little AquaTru. AquaTru is actually so much easier for me to talk about than AirDoctor. Same thing. It's like because I can't even believe the water situation.
Oh my God. It's like these two things. I love that you said about the foundation because that's really my mission. I agree. Just so much crap, but this is like the core. Oh, so just question on Aqua Pure. So
It's
do they
Aqua.
do,
It's AquaTru.
I mean, Aqua True. So not
Yeah.
Aqua. I wrote Aqua Pure, Aqua True. Do they do whole house or it's just the ones on the counter?
We don't do whole house. We have on the
You
counter and then we
under,
have under the sink. Yeah.
right. I don't know why I wrote Aqua
Because
Pure.
whole house is just so many thousands of
Yeah.
dollars, it's just not realistic to many. So we really try to make something super affordable. And um And whole house systems just require so much maintenance that it's just not a solution for so many people. I'd love to
Oh,
have
yeah.
one, but I also don't want to like have the maintenance.
I totally agree. All right, just want to make sure I fix this. True. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'll do your intro after. AquaTru, perfect. Okay. All right, just so you know, producers, I'm going to do both intros after the recording, so you'll just have to check that. Okay, AquaTru. Okay, Helen, such a pleasure to have you with us today and discuss clean water. I think clean water is a foundational essential for our body. We are made up of almost 70% of water, and our body craves it and it needs it. And it's something that you do every day. We all drink, and the quality of our water has become more and more an important thing. I think back in the day, maybe in our grandparents' era, people used to drink tap water and that was considered healthy and it was fine. And then I remember I grew up in Florida, but then moved to New York City, and living in the city, people were like, oh, it's great. You could drink the tap water here compared to Florida. And I think people haven't updated with the times, given so many new toxins and pollutions have entered the environment, that has now affected our water system. And so the times have changed. And for me, I became aware through the environmental working group,
Yeah.
and they measure and test the water all across the country. So if you're curious about how is the quality of water by your zip code, you can actually go check it out. And for me, that was the starting point of realizing, oh, wow, the water is maybe not as clean as everybody thinks. And so I started ordering glass bottled water at dinner. And my husband would always make fun of me and just think that I was being annoying, until I showed him proof that actually, no, I'm not being annoying. This is real. So, can we discuss? Let's just start off by discussing how clean water is essential for our health and well being. Why does it matter?
So I mean, like you said, we're made up of 70% water, and it's so important for our human body that we're able to detox. And so water is the one main way that we're actually flushing and detoxing our system. So if you're detoxing your human body with contaminated water, you're going to have a contaminated body, period. And so really, really important that we're drinking and we are cooking with purified water, because these contaminants in our water supply are really, really bad for us. Many of them cause cancer. This is a really serious problem, and we all have to take our water very, very seriously.
Now, because my husband would ask me these questions. I love that. Thank you, Zach, for being my inspiration for this interview. Can you just boil out these ingredients? Like, does it really matter? You put water and you boil them out, and now your water's clean.
This is my thing. Like, contaminants do not boil out. And if you don't hear one other thing from this podcast today, please hear this. Contaminants do not boil out. And when I learned that, and this is just a couple of years ago that I learned this, like, it blew my brains. I mean, I couldn't even comprehend what I was listening to. And so contaminants don't boil out, they concentrate. And we are programmed to thinking that if we just boil a pot of water, that we're cleaning it. Yeah, you're cleaning the bacteria, you're making it potable to drink, but you're not removing any of the contaminants. And so forever chemicals, drug residue, like all the stuff that's in our water supply, the chromium sixes and all these things are concentrating. They are not being boiled out. And so when you think about the meals that you're preparing for your family, the Thanksgivings, the mashed potatoes, the mac and cheese for the kids, the kettle pot that you put on for tea, the coffee that you just pour tap water into your, Nespresso machine or your Keurig, it starts to like it really makes my brain explode. So please, if you hear anything, contaminants don't boil out, and you have to cook and drink purified water.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. When it's interesting, I tend to run, I'm susceptible to be high in mercury. And that's where actually my connection to the water happened, because they were saying I eat very clean, doesn't make sense. Maybe it's coming from your water source.
Yeah.
And I even had a purification system for drinking, but for cooking, I don't. We definitely used tap water for cooking. And that was my aha moment to say, oh, wow, here's an opportunity to clean this system up. And then from that, I learned metals don't boil out. So while you may be able to boil, I don't know if it's a bacteria or a virus of some sort, there's so many metals in there and these forever chemicals that didn't exist back in the day. And a lot of them come from the plastic industry. And also another thing is to just stop drinking out of plastic containers or storing your food in the plastic containers too. So it all seeps in and it all adds to the whole, and our bodies can only handle so much. And wellness is of course having such a huge movement, this and that, but if your foundation is not strong, there's no way you can build a skyscraper. And so I really think it's so important to share that. Get your foundation strong. So whether that's the water like we're talking about today, if it's the air that you're breathing in every day in your house, these are some core foundational things that are so essential that will help you in the long run. So you may not, right? It doesn't smack you in the face that you feel like something's happening. I think that's the hardest part. But the truth is the compounding over time, day after day, year after year, eventually your body's going to break down. And so if you know that you're supporting yourself as much as possible, because listen, we don't live in, this super sterile environment. You're going out to restaurants. Trust me, you're getting your contaminant fill
Yeah.
outside the house. So you might as well just clean up what you can control, which is in the house, so that you don't have to stress for when you're outside the house. Enjoy your meal. It is what it is. I always say I believe in an 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time you can control as much as you can control. And then the 20%, let go. It doesn't matter. But if your base is really strong, then you're able to then not feel gross after you ate out from a meal or so forth. Or, you're just going to start to bounce back even stronger. What sets apart? There's so many different types of water filtrations out there, reverse osmosis. How can somebody determine what is, the right type of water filtration that is essential for somebody's house?
Well, I really think, like you were just talking about, is having a solid foundation. And so reverse osmosis is the gold standard in water purification. And it does exactly that. It sets a very pure foundation for your water. And then you can add to that. Like if you want to add trace minerals to it, you can. It's something that I think is just really important, that you start with a very clean, pure water. And what reverse osmosis does, like our AquaTru system has 4 stages of filtration. And RO is a membrane, and it's one of our stages where contaminated water goes through the membrane, and contaminated water stays on one side and pure water goes through the other. So it actually keeps the contaminated water behind. And so RO has been used for years and years and years. It's what bottled water companies use to purify their water. Anything that you have, like any canned water, like you look, if it says purified water, it's reverse osmosis. And it's also one of the technologies that the government is going to put in place to try and deal with the forever chemicals crisis that we have here in the United States. So definitely the gold standard. And it's what we recommend that you use to purify your water.
And so when you use the reverse osmosis, it is guaranteed to get rid of all of those contaminants that we were talking about.
It removes
Metals, is
it.
it 99%
Yeah,
basically?
it removes to about 99% of the contaminant. So, AquaTru is certified to NSF standards, and this is really important, right? That any water filtration system that you're looking at is is certified to NSF standards to remove contaminants for the lifetime of the filters. So each single filter in AquaTru has NSF certification or certified to NSF standards. And we're certified to remove 83 contaminants for the life of our filter. And you really need to, it's very important with water purification that you understand what it's removing. So on the AquaTru website, we have our data of all the 83 contaminants that it's removing from the water. So really important that you go to ewg.org, you see what's in your water, and then you really understand what's in your water and what you need to take out. And even on the EWG website, you'll look and it'll show all the different types of water filtration that's out there and how many contaminants it will remove. And so EWG is a really, really great place to start on your clean water journey. And it was my aha moment too. I was like, how do I have chromium in my water? And, 247 million Americans have chromium in their water. And let's just talk about that for 1 minute.
Scary.
Aaron Brockovich made this famous over 30 years ago. And so when I saw that, and I saw the Aaron Brockovich movie 30 years ago, that's within my memory.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. And it's
It
like
was a big deal.
all
Huge.
these years later, I still have chromium 6 in my water at, 22 times the health guidelines. And we all know it causes cancer. So I think it's important that people realize that these contaminants in your water, they cause cancer. And so we really need to pay attention to it. And it's something that I think it's the most vital thing that we can do for our health.
Yeah, what I love about AquaTru is that it felt like a real accessible starting point of getting into a water filtration system. Can we discuss when I first discovered it, I saw that it was on the counter because I think a lot of people think of a Brita in the refrigerator. I see that at a lot of people's houses because I'm also in real estate. So I go into people's homes a lot and see sort of how they live. And that is still sort of that kind of, what kind of filtration is that we're talking about that
So
they're using in comparison, just so
let's
someone can
talk about
understand?
let's talk about different types of water filtration. So you have a pitcher filter, like a Brita filter, and there's several others, and that's basically a carbon filter. And they're really meant to remove chlorine, lead, and chloramines. And that's just to make your water taste better. And what people don't realize about pitcher filters is that if you don't change that filter right when you're supposed to, it'll actually super leach and super dose your water with
Wow.
contaminants. And so, it's kind of my first water filter. And look, it's better than nothing, but you're not pulling out a lot of this big stuff and forever
Hmm.
chemicals and things like this with a pitcher filter. It's not what's happening. And then they're also prone to mold, right? So if you have any moisture or water, like you're kind of defeating the whole purpose by putting bacteria into your water. And then another type of filtration is your fridge filters. Fridge filters are also carbon filters, and they're marginally better than a pitcher filter. You really need pressure to purify water. So because fridge filters use pressure, they work a little bit better than a Brita filter or a pitcher filter or something like that. And so, same thing. If it gets filled, if you don't change the filter, you're going to be super dosing. And it's the thing with your ice machine. Like, you can tell when your filter's gone bad because your ice tastes really bad. That's super
Yeah.
dosed ice. And so you really want to throw that out. And so then lastly, we have AquaTru. And AquaTru has 4 levels of filtration. So we do have our first filter, which is a carbon filter, which removes the pre-filter actually, which removes all the big particles, rust, sediment, things like that. And then it goes through the second filter, which is our carbon filter. And that removes lead from the water, chlorine, the chloramines, etc. Then it passes into the reverse osmosis, which basically takes out all of the organic and some inorganic materials and separates the contaminated water from the pure water. And then lastly, we have our VOC coconut block filter. And that is what's removing things like drug residue and all this weird stuff that's in the water that's really microscopic. So at the end of that, you've got this pure, really clean water. And I think the taste is amazing with our AquaTru. Like, I'm such a water snob now. Like, you were talking about the 80-20 rule. I'm that girl. I go to the restaurants and I'm like, no ice, please. Like, no tap
Oh,
water
yeah.
for me. Like, because I'm hypersensitive because I'm in this business. But I have people laughing at me constantly, like, hold the ice, like, no tap water for me.
Yep.
So AquaTru, our countertop units are really affordable. And it's as easy as making a cup of coffee. You literally pour tap water in the back of the unit and pure water comes out. We have different sizes for families. We have one that goes under the sink that's really easy. So we really have made it very accessible for people to have pure, clean water at home.
Yes, I love the accessibility, and that's what really excited me, but especially for families, because I think a lot of people think of these huge, oh, I can't do like a whole house water filtration, or even if you don't feel like committing to an under the sink, because I know back I had a bunch of them. My husband was always nervous. Is it going to leak? Is it going to leak? And actually, some past ones that weren't AquaTru did leak, and it was kind of annoying, but I stuck with it. And so I love the over on the counter because so many people love the idea of just this pitcher and throw it in the refrigerator. And so you can still have that experience where you're getting a massively upgraded
Yeah.
quality for a similar type of pitcher, easy grab and go. And then you can fill up your water bottles as well from there. And so I think that, I'm so excited that you guys created that and it's amazing. And that if you do want to then take it to the next level, you do have an under the counter reverse osmosis system as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have an undersink unit. I actually have that. I've had all of them in my house, but that's the one that I have in my house now. And for people that own their home and, it's a handyman install, it's actually pretty easy. It'll take any TaskRabbit guy like 10 or 15 minutes to install under the counter. And I use it in my home and I really love it. And so it really makes like cooking and drinking clean water really, really, really easy for someone that has a lot of volume in their household. So I love the under the sink. I think it's a really good solution for a lot of people. And whole house systems they require maintenance, so a technician has to come out and maintain it. And it's a massive investment. And so while they're great, I think for people just really focused on their drinking water and their cooking water, the under sink or one of our countertop units will really it'll put you in charge of your water at your house. It's great.
Yes, and it's super easy to do so. Now, are we supposed to be adding things since we're taking so much out of our water? Are we supposed to be adding back in, some essential trace minerals that we are not no longer ingesting?
Well, I mean, the truth about that is we're really not getting minerals from our tap water. So, I mean, what they're doing at these treatment facilities is really just contaminating the water, and it's not left with a bunch of trace minerals. People get most of their minerals from food and their diet. But if you're worried about minerals in your water, if it's a preference, we do have our number 4 filter. We have an alkaline pH filter that you can replace the number 4 filter with, which will remineralize your water. So some people really, really love having mineralized water. I prefer personally the reverse osmosis water. And then I like adding, there's a brand of trace minerals that I really like. We also have one at AquaTru that's beautiful. And so, I think now trace minerals are becoming such kind of like a supplement that I
Mhm.
like having a really, really clean slate and then adding my minerals as needed.
Got it. Yes, I think that that's important too, because sometimes we can get stripped of our minerals if we're not paying attention to it. But it is a good point that we weren't necessarily getting it from the regular water in the first place. It's just something that because of our soil, we're just naturally becoming more and more depleted. That is not necessarily due to a change into your reverse osmosis water. Because sometimes I think, the noise out there likes to blame it, but that's not the case at all.
No.
With a growing emphasis on sustainability, how I love discussing just how AquaTru system can help reduce the environmental impact of water bottles and how that actually, I think for my family that's been huge of having clean water at home, and I bring my water bottle with me wherever I go. So have you seen a big shift in people's habits in terms of now making sure that they're leaving their house with their own bottle instead of leaving it to the outside, buying something in a store?
Yeah, I mean, we're very proud at AquaTru that we have kept over, I think it's well over, we're probably like 2.5 billion pieces of single-use plastic out of landfills in the ocean. And
Wow.
so that's something as a company that we really, really take a lot of pride in. And now also, I mean, the concerns over microplastics and all this leaching that's going on with these water bottles in the store. There was the Fiji scandal that happened, and so I think that it's really important that you're taking your water with you in either a Triton plastic that has been tested not to leach, or a glass, even better, a glass container or stainless steel. And you need to take your water and the quality of your water into your own hands. Like, there's been so much contaminated water found at the grocery store. Unless it's in a glass bottle, I just wouldn't even consider it an option. And so it's really important that people take the purity of their water into their own hands. The government's not doing it for us. The stores aren't doing that for us. Big manufacturers aren't doing it for us. I mean, look what just happened with Fiji, and they were the standard of like beautiful water.
Yeah,
So,
can you tell us what happened with Fiji for those who may not be aware of it?
oh, they were recalled. I mean, they had 2 million, I think it was 2 million water bottles recalled due to manganese and bacteria
Ooh,
consumption. I mean, that's just, I mean, it should never
scary.
happen. And so you need to make sure, like, if you're purifying it in your home and you have control of that environment, please do it.
I love that. Our mission here is to help people own their wellness. So this is an amazing, easy way that you can. I don't leave my house without my water bottle, even when I go to friends' houses. No offense, if you, when I know that you don't necessarily have clean water, I just drink from my water bottle, and I'm very comfortable with it. I don't really say anything about it. I just did right now, but I hadn't really. I don't announce it, and I know I'm covered, and so at least I know that I'm drinking something that is clean and good for my body. And what it sold my husband actually was we did a water testing at home, and we were drinking only out of glass water bottles, but then we even showed how the glass water bottle quality was not good, like at all. And so I would just, recommend do bit of research. Like you got to put in some effort here. Do a little research and just be curious to figure out whatever you're using every day. Like, is it even good for you? Because most likely it may not be. And it's such an easy, small tweak that you can make to upgrade what you're drinking every day. Just to get an AquaTru, get it on the counter, and there you go. And everybody else can benefit from it as well. It's not just for you. So I would just say, please investigate a little bit on what you're drinking and just do a little research, because it's sad that we can't really put the trust in companies anymore. And even things, spring water does not necessarily always mean that it's even that clean. So we need to go that extra step and just check.
Yeah, can I double click on the taking your water bottle with you for a minute, because I love to talk about this because it,
Oh,
it
yeah.
recently blew my mind. A lot of these bottle filling stations that you see at airports, at markets, at all these places, do you know many of those companies have not done third-party validation to certify their water to remove contaminants to NSF standards. And so
Right.
like people are taking their water bottles with them. They're filling them up at these bottle filling stations, and some of these companies haven't tested their water, and or do they have any third party validation for anything more than like lead and chlorine? So people think that they're doing the right thing, and these companies don't have third party validation. So the water business is really crooked. And so the more people are aware, then they'll just fill their water bottle at home.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I actually didn't know that, and that's scary. So it's like, well, we think we're doing something good, and then it becomes kind of worthless. So I think two things. One, get your clean water at home, and two, check and see which glass water, if you need to purchase outside the house, would be the best option for you based upon what is available in your store. And I think those, again, third party certification is huge because the company does not have control over the results most of the time, at least.
Yeah.
And so it is a great double check just to know that the claims that the company is making are true and that it is validated from an outside company. Because otherwise, if it's all within the company, they can say whatever they want. That's just kind of how it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, Helen, this has been just an eye-opening conversation. I hope so many of you are getting such great, an eye-opening detail here. If you can share one drop of wellness wisdom that you'd like to leave with our listeners today, what would that be?
Really make sure your drops of water are pure. The federal government has put plans in place to redo all of our lead waterways here in the United States, but that's not going to happen in our lifetimes. Like, we will not see that to completion. And so it is very important. We're having a water crisis here in the United States of America with all of these forever chemicals. And so I can't stress enough that it's so important that you know what's in your water. You go to ewg.org, you run your zip code, because this single thing can really change the course of you and your family's health. And so really vital for us. And I really appreciate you having me on today to talk about this.
Yes, no, thank you so much. This has been great. And yeah, everybody just make sure you're getting your clean water and take it with you on the road. Always be protected. Thank you so much for tuning into the Well Drop. We will be offering a discount code in the show notes. You can check that out. And please tune in to our next episode. Also, like and leave us a review. And we will be with you next time.